Hello everyone, my name is Adrian Brook. This is my 9th trip to Ukraine. I spent 1.5 years in the Swedish Armed Forces, of which 5 months was in the combat camera unit. On this channel I'm going to talk about the type of work I do, traveling around the world working for different NGOs, and the experience I gained here in Ukraine as well. So quick disclaimer, I do not advise anyone to go to a war zone or dangerous area. This video is only for educational and entertainment purposes only. So what we're going to talk about today is something very exciting, and that is the type of protective equipment that we might encounter as filmmakers and journalists, and also talk about the most common type of dangers that we might encounter out in the field and what this will protect you from, what it will not protect you from. First and foremost, I always advise to talk to the local authorities where you are, people with local knowledge, and also if you're with a fixer, the company or host, talk with them first, see what they bring and what they advise you to have. In word to mouth, you will hear about Class 1, 2, 3A, 3 and 4 type protective equipment. Class 1 type equipment, that is very rare. It's something that you will not see. It only protects for small rounds from a handgun, mainly. Low velocity rounds coming from a handgun. Very rare, you will not see it because it doesn't serve much purpose over the Class 2. Class 2 type equipment is still soft armor. Class 1, 2, 3A are usually soft type body armor, such as this one. This is Class 2 type body armor. Class 2 will protect you from 9mm hand rounds and shrapnel. Much of the shrapnel, not all the shrapnel. And we're gonna talk about shrapnel later and why that becomes a bit confusing when you're talking about protective equipment. Then you also have Class 3A, which is the highest type of protective equipment that you will find in the soft body armor type. And the Class 3A will protect against heavy handguns rounds, so big handgun rounds, so that will protect you even better than Class 2. Class 3 is where we get into the plates, and that will protect you from 7.62 type rifle rounds. They're usually made from ceramic, steel. Class 4, which is in this body type armor. This is a hybrid vest, we will talk about that as well. Class 4 will protect from armor piercing rounds from rifle type 7.62. So Class 1 to 4 provides a general protection against ballistic threats. No, it will give you a gradual protection for shrapnel, but it's not necessarily designed for it. Shrapnel is a little bit different because it travels at a different speed. The nature of these threats are just different. So for that, there's a NATO standard test called STANAG 2920 for vests and STANAG 2929 for helmets, and that is giving protection for shrapnel and fragments from mortar shells, from grenades and such things. That means that a STANAG 2920 vest at Class 1 or 2 might give you better protection from shrapnel than a Class 3 plate would that is designed for ballistic threats at Class 3. So that doesn't tell us very much more than just the technicalities of this. So how does that affect us in the field? What we're dealing with in this war in Ukraine at least is mostly shrapnel. Shrapnel is our biggest enemy. I will explain what shrapnel is. When there's some type of explosive, the explosion itself by the explosive substance, it's not the most dangerous thing. That it can cause your eardrums to burst, it can cause you a concussion. What is around the explosive is what is dangerous, so that is what we call shrapnel. It's usually pieces of metal that burst into all directions, and they have this in the FPV drones, they have that in the artillery shells. There's always some shrapnel, and not only shrapnel. When the explosive happens on the ground, for example, you might have rocks and stone and sand and gravel flying out, and that's what we call shrapnel, and that's our biggest enemy. That is what causes the most damage and deaths in the war here. When you're to a point where there are gunfire, 99% of the times when we're working as a journalist and filmmakers, that's not where we're standing. These pieces of shrapnel, I will show that. There's some piece of shrapnel damage on this house and the pillars here, which I will pick a camera off the tripod and show you here. This is from shrapnel right here, as you can see. So this is like a piece of artillery shell or something that exploded and then just traveled all through this metal pillar here. And you can see like the exit hole as well, how it looks like. And this is also this small piece here, this is also from shrapnel, which is much smaller, but that just shows you the variation of the type of wounds that this can create. Very small pieces of shrapnel here to something very large. When I did my service of 1 year, what we had is just body armor that went covering like from below the waist all the way to the shoulder and neck, and we had this huge, not very heavy, but it protects against shrapnel, and shrapnel is like the type of wound that you will encounter the most. So when we buy any vest for our type of work, it's very important to see that it's marked for STANAG 2920. There are no guarantees absolutely when you carry this type of armor. Velocities from different shrapnel and the rounds depends on the distance, it depends on what type of gauge of the weapon is used, it depends on how far the explosion is, how big the piece of shrapnel is. There's so many factors playing in. I want to show you some of the protective equipment here now. This is my plate carrier with the Class III plates. These are ceramic plates on the back and the front, and this I use always in addition to the Kevlar. This, as it's lighter and soft, it will cover more of the body. I will show you this here. I'll put this on. As you can see, it covers a bit more to the sides of the kidney, and also on the back it covers more to the side, also up around the neck a little bit. This provides me more protection than plates will do. Plates will only cover about this of my body. These are not made to be carried by press type people. They are specifically designed for close quarter combat. This is very light. I can have this under my jacket. It's what I always take because it's a Class II. It's a basic protection against shrapnel, so I'm happy with that. It will protect my vitals, heart, lungs from penetration wounds from shrapnel. So although this looks very cool, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the most effective type of equipment. Here I also have mole pouches. Mole is a webbing type system that you see with these things. It's a webbing system in the military that is universal. So I've done mole webbing with these pouches to the vest. I put a big pouch here where I usually put my batteries, my ND filters. Up here I have another one where I put my ear props and my phone maybe. And then on the side here I always have a tourniquet, which is something that we'll end the video with, talking about the basic medical stuff. We're coming to that. But as you can see here, this is really good protection, but on a very limited area. The plate ends about here and here. This is made for military personnel that wants to have a lot of movement, be able to move around and have a lot of mobility, only protecting from rifle damage coming straight in front of you. When you're in the field working as a press, there might be artillery shells going on the side, back to you. It might be everywhere. So this has a very specific design made for close combat by infantry and law enforcement. So this is not necessarily made for press people, and that's the point I want to make in this video, that there's so many people carrying these things and it looks very cool, but it's really not the best type of equipment that you can use when you're doing press and filmmaking. They don't protect as much of the body as Class II and the 3A type Kevlar that is more suited for shrapnel, which is the biggest threat to us. But this is really efficient, you know, because I can carry all my camera equipment. These are Class IV plates with the Kevlar inside and also on the side. You have pockets for Kevlar on the side here. These are like hybrid types vest. These are usually what you will see the press staff use, what they're given by press offices, and the journalists are given these types. I couldn't get my hands on these, unfortunately, for this video. I really tried to. This is what I could get my hands on. But they're honestly the best for this type of work. Probably you have the Class 3A plates in there, or equipment, and they will cover more of the body, like up until the neck and down around your hips, and you have the helmet on top of that. That is really like the best. It's designed for that type of work. So if you can get your hands on a proper press vest, they will be heavy, they will be not very comfortable to carry, but at least they will protect your body completely with Kevlar away from the shrapnel. So that's really optimal. Let's pretend that this is proper press vest. I feel that there's Kevlar here going around to the sides a bit, goes up through the neck all the way up here even. I feel there are class 4 plates in here, so you have like the double cover of the Kevlar and the plates. The UN proposal is that you have these on your chest, on your back, in front of your head, and also in the back of your head. So in 4 different locations, and that is to properly identify yourself as press when you're in the field. And people get experimental with that too, sometimes only on the chest, sometimes only. So it depends on what type of book you want to follow. These are very common types of helmets that you see in the field. This is a NATO helmet with the Class IIIA protection. You see journalists with these as well. They look cool, yes, and that is for the reason that they're not covering the ears and they have these things going on the side here. The purpose of that is that you can put hearing cover with active hearing on, and that is made for combat. So short said, these type NATO helmets are made for combat. They're not made for press people. For press, you have these, which are also covering the ears, and usually you have your own ear props, ear protection. You don't have the active hearing. That's not what we're doing. That's for people who needs the hearing protection with the covers and everything. We do this for maximum protection and ear props. And we have a press in the front, and this helmet doesn't have it. We usually press in the back of the head as well. So as you can see, just to put them side by side, you see one is covering the ears and one is not. Of course, this is better than nothing, depending what you cross. Same type protection, different shape for different purpose. With that said, you can still get a piece of shrapnel through your leg, through your hands, arms, anywhere. I would absolutely advise you to carry at least 2 items when it comes to the first aid stuff. You absolutely need to know some basic first aid things with at least 2 items that I will show here. And I would absolutely advise you to take a first responder course so you actually know in person how to use these. It's not a YouTube video that's going to teach you how to use a tourniquet or a first aid bandage. It's going to be to actually train on them in person in real life. Individual first aid kit is what IFAK stands for. In these you have a bunch of different first aid equipment. Here are some gloves, and you have this is a thermal blanket if you're cold. You have some tape here. Here's Israeli bandage. You have some additional bandage. Scissors to where you can cut clothes if you need to get into, like, you can't remove the clothes. Decompression needles, 1 tourniquet in there, and also a tourniquet on top here, easily accessible, on top of the IFAK. And this IFAK, you can mold them onto the, if you skip the camera pack here, for example, you can do that, or if you have a backpack with molle. So this also, just the whole IFAK needs to be easily accessible. These are like field IFAKs, like the minimum you need to just survive if you have a traumatic injury. We're not going to cover everything in these today. It's good, the more you know the better, because you can help yourself and the people around you if there would be an incident. But there are 2 items I want you to remember and take with you from this video. The first one, the more you have of these the better. I have one on my plate carrier as well here. You need to learn how to use a tourniquet if you're in a war zone. Absolutely. These will basically cover what these things cannot, and that is shrapnel and the injuries to your limbs. If you get shrapnel in your chest, you might be saved by one of your plates or your Kevlar here, but if you get shrapnel in your leg or your arms, so what you have to do is that you have to bring these out. These are saving lives, tremendous amounts of lives here, because what they do is that if you get shot in the limb and you start losing blood, this will prevent you from losing all your blood from that limb fast enough for you to get to medical emergency place where they can patch you up. They save so many lives, and it's like the #1 thing that you have to learn. So if you're getting out into the field, into a war zone, or if you plan on that, take a course and learn how to use this in person with a proper instructor that will teach you how to put them on, how to put them on someone else, on yourself, where on the limb to put it, how hard to adjust it, so you can save yourself or the life of someone else when something does happen. Very important that the tourniquets are always very easily accessible, that you have them in a place where you can easily reach them, usually in a pocket. You don't want them in a backpack, in the bottom of the backpack. You want them like in a place like here, where I can just basically with one arm just take it out. I will show you the second item. This Israeli design type trauma bandage. These are a compression bandage, where you will be able to wrap a wound and also put pressure to stop the bleeding of a wound. This is also something that you need training with by a professional that can show you how to use it, how to wrap it, how to properly attach it. These two items are made to stop bleeding from shrapnel, wound or anything that can happen. Even if you get a limb completely blown off by a mine or FPV drone, you can at least stop the bleeding from that using tourniquet. If you're in any environment using this type of equipment, you also need to be able to use these two things. If you decide to invest in any of this equipment, do it from a reputable distributor. Go to a store where they sell equipment for law enforcement. They will help you to get proper press equipment. Do not buy from eBay or online on any place like this, because you will be ripped off. Another thing to take into account is that these do not breathe at all, and they're quite warm. So that is something to take into account when you also take clothes, that you will probably be sweating a lot under them because they're not breathing, and you'll be warmer. So you might not have to bring as much clothing when you have these on you. Play with different scenarios in your head when you're getting out with a car. How would I act in different scenarios? Because when something happens, everything happens very quickly. Everyone starts acting very irrationally. Everyone will think they know what they're doing. They're not. That's just how we humans work when we want to get out of danger. So just by planning out different scenarios in your head will help you to prevent acting irrationally during disaster. So these three things are something I really think is worth to consider. When you borrow the equipment, make sure that you know what type of equipment it is. Is it class 1, 2, 3A, 3 or 4? The helmets, are they proper class? Is it proper equipment? Can you read the type of protection they have inside? Usually the plates are marked. You can open up the plate carrier and see. You can usually read inside the helmet as well what type of protection it gives you. Have an IFAK, at least always bring a tourniquet in your pocket and prepare different scenarios in your head for how you will act in different situations. And with these three things, you will be much better off than just jumping into a car carrying something that someone gives you and you don't even know what it is, how it works, and you don't know the threats around you. You just put something on because someone tells you to do so. It's really important that you educate yourself on the type of dangers that will be in the area where you head and what these things are doing to protect you. So I'm really putting energy into these videos to bring you guys good information about this type of work. I haven't seen this much on YouTube otherwise, so please make sure to like and subscribe. It helps a lot to support the channel so we can keep doing these things, so it makes sense to bring all these things together, to borrow all this equipment from my friends. Thank you very much for watching and see you in the next video.